I have the largest water bottle. Let's just put that out there.
You're not lying. That's not an exaggeration. That puts Ace to shame.
Yeah, what is the deal?
How much you're supposed to drink in a day.
Good
and
Lord.
I've been doing hot yoga a lot, so I'm trying to make
What's
sure.
the difference between hot yoga? What's hot yoga and
It's
cold
in
yoga?
the heat.
Oh,
It's
okay.
heated yoga.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Well, or just regular yoga or hot yoga.
Well, how the hell would I know that? I don't know anything.
It's an uncomfortable amount of sweat that pours from my body when doing hot yoga.
No, it's actually better because it loosens you up more so you can get into
Okay.
it.
Then you
true.
slip on the mat.
I'm bored with all of this because I'll tell you why. Joining us, it's been such a long time.
I know.
She is my former co-host on Movie Threesome. She is this former co-host on Schmoes. She is a incredible actress. So excited for you, Miss Megan Markle herself, Tiffany Smith in the new movie. This is nuts.
It's crazy.
This is crazy.
It's really bizarre.
How funny is it that we were like, one day I'm going to have you on as a guest, and you're going to be in the green room, and we're going to talk to you about this movie because
you know me well enough to know I will never be in the green room because I literally walked in 30 seconds before I was supposed to.
There's no chance. From my time at Jedi Council.
Early.
Your publicist reached out to me and was like, "Hey, we'd love to get Tiffany Smith on the show."
Because here's what happened. So there was lists going around of places that wanted to do press for it, and I was like, these were ones I wanted to do, and she's like, okay, we'll handle it. And so that was where she reached out, and I was like, I ended up texting Christian. I was just like, hey, let's figure this out because it's literally this week it's starting to yesterday I had 4 or 5 phone interviews, and then next week there's a half junket day and upfronts, and then we fly to New York because we're doing the Today Show.
Where did you shoot this? Where did you shoot this movie?
We shot in Vancouver.
Okay, cool.
So it was really cool because when I did Supernatural last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was in Vancouver, and so I got to be there for 2 weeks as an actor.
They shoot
I say
everything
actor
over
like
there.
this.
Yeah.
But I've
Why
been
do
up
you say
there.
actor like this?
Because
you're so used to doing that.
I'm still getting used to it. I'm still really getting used to being I'm an actor. I'm not trying to be an actor. Now I'm a working actor.
I want to hear all about this because this is fascinating to me. The first part of it.
You want to talk about the making out? I know you do, Christian.
I didn't see the trailer today. I saw the trailer today, and I did at the end. I said, "You get your filthy mouth off my friend." But I did. You were incredible in the trailer. You were so good in it, and anytime it's like when you go to watch anyone, if you watch a friend do stand up or you watch them do acting, you're like, oh my God, please be good, please be good. And I'm just like, she's crushing it. And I'm just watching that trailer. You were so good because and I've said this and I told you how bizarre it is for me that you're playing Meghan Markle.
Yeah.
And the fact that what happened to Meghan Markle happened, it was crazy to me. But then you get cast. When this comes across, your agent or manager says, hey, listen, because you guys you're very similar looking. Is that one of the reasons that we got to submit Tiffany? How does this all come to be?
Yeah, I mean, there was a movie that happened last year, and I think they had submitted me, but they wanted Canadian actors. I don't remember what exactly happened, but I didn't go in for the first movie. And then
a Meghan Markle movie that happened?
So Lifetime has A Royal Romance is the first one, where they fall in love, and this is the continuation.
So you're playing it as if it's still part of the whole thing.
Because the other two actors were both working, so they couldn't do this one, which I really wanted to talk to Parisa, who played Megan in the last film. So we connected before I went up to shoot, and then we had lunch afterwards because I'm very much, I want to really focus on women don't have to be in competition with each other. If she has advice, if I can have a mentor in any way, I totally will take that. And she was lovely and awesome. So I had just come, it was around the holidays. I had just gotten back from New Year's, and Chad, actually, who I know you guys had on the show.
Yesterday, or 2 days ago.
Yeah, he messaged me and he was like, I know they probably have already submitted you for this, but if they haven't, you've got to get on it. So my manager submitted me, and immediately casting office was like, yes, we want to have her come in. So I went in, and it was funny because I walked into the room and she was like, just so you know, we lost all the tapes from this morning. And I was like, haha, funny. I was like, I'm so going to say the actor thing. I was like, it's because you just needed to see me today.
Right, yeah.
So we did the read, and I felt really confident in the audition, and we talked a lot afterwards because I think a big part of this character for me, which was so awesome, is just kind of
you just watched
realizing
Suits.
I only started watching Suits after I got the call back, because and Christian was like, do you want to chat? Because I know her and her ex-husband, and I was like, no, I don't, because I really wanted to.
She did say, she's like, I'd rather not. I'd rather just kind of go on my own. I was like, absolutely.
So you knew she was going in for the...
No.
This was after I booked it.
Yeah, after she got it. After it was announced, she got it. And I texted her immediately and congratulated her, and then said, if there's any particular, and it wasn't for public thing, it was just for her, obviously. And then she was like, no, I'd rather not. I just want to kind of go in knowing what I know and do it my way. And from what it looks like you did, and you knocked it out of the park, kid. I can't wait.
Thanks.
I can't wait.
Yeah, so we did the first audition, got the call back. And I want to say probably, like, the director was there and producers were there for the callback, which was really nice to get to work with the director and see what it would be like on set. And then probably like a week later, I was packing and heading up to Vancouver for 5 weeks.
Well, because we were supposed to go to London.
Yeah.
Well, this is like the first. I mean, you had a big arc on Supernatural. I remember that.
Like one episode, but it was
big
very
arc.
impactful.
But
last season, I want to come back.
But what I'm saying is, a lot of people when you go from I'm going to be I'm a host and I'm going to go start doing acting, and then people it doesn't happen the way it's happened to you. It just doesn't. Like people will go and they'll do like little guest star roles, have like a scene, and then they build their ways up. You had like a full episode was all about you. You're like a main character in it, and then you get this movie. This is a starring role. This is a big starring role. What's it like on set? Because I know how humble you are in general as a person. Like so it's got to be weird that it's just you're like the star of the
Not enough
movie.
burping anymore because you're all healthy now.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
Sometimes, because there were days where I was like, I'm going to eat all the freaking donuts because I've been on set for so long and I need a sugar rush right now. It was weird because I didn't know, for people who are actors or not, don't know, but it's like the person who's the lead is number one on the call sheet.
Right.
And I had no idea. I hadn't even met the guy playing Harry before I got to set. And so I went to set thinking like, oh, it's Harry and Meghan. It's not Meghan and Harry. He's probably going to be number one. So we did the table read and it was like, Tiffany Smith, number one. And I was like, oh, I'm number one on the call sheet.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of what I think a lot of people like don't know. And you guys all know this because you know me well. But it's like, it seems like it happened fast, but I've been working for a really long time, taking classes and auditioning a lot. And so it was, yes, it doesn't often happen where you book a lead role in a film like this as quickly as I did, but it wasn't like, oh, someone saw me and was like, she looks like her. Let's cast her. It was definitely a lot of work leading up to it. So for sure there were nerves coming onto set because I was like, we got there. And I literally called all my friends who are actors or who have been number one just to be like, hey, do you have any recommendations, any tips, anything that you can share with me to kind of, step into this being as prepared as I possibly can be? Chad was like, make sure you don't overbook yourself because I like to see people and do things. And so he was like, you're going to need your solo time.
That's what he said on Monday.
Yeah. And then some other friends were just like, just be open to asking questions and letting people know the stuff that you don't know because I haven't been on a ton of sets, so I don't really know when they're shouting out lenses. Like at the time I was like, I don't know what does that mean?
Right.
So every chance that I got, I kind of went up to people and had quiet time. I was just like, hey, this is my first lead, so anything that you guys can share with me that will help, let me know. I'm totally open.
And I'm sure they were because it was like, because I'm sure that people who didn't know you were gonna be like, is this girl really think she's a fucking princess? Like you can see the crew, and then when you meet, and then you meet Tiffany, and you're like, nah, she's cool. And because you've always been like that. When we did movie threesome, you're always chatting up the crew, and you and I would talk about all the time how important it is to treat the crew with respect because they're the ones that are taking care of you the whole time. You should take care of them.
It's a team, like really. I mean, there were days where, like I think a lot of people don't experience until you're on set that much is like I would literally wake up at 5, sometimes earlier, to start the day, and then your hair, makeup, and then for me, because I'm in almost every scene, you work until like 11 sometimes.
Right.
And they're working longer.
Then you're home till 12. And you're not home till like 12. And then you're supposed to go to sleep, but then you're wired from the day. You have to shower or try and get to the gym for just a second to like burn off whatever excitement I have from the day. And then you do it again the next day.
Right.
So you're like, if you can't trust and have a good relationship with the crew too, like those days are even harder.
You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
What did you learn about Meghan Markle throughout this process?
So for me, like I watched a lot of YouTube videos, which sounds silly, but like
not really.
Those were the ones where it was like, you got any moments of her being, natural, who
candid.
she is. Yeah, more candid. And the movie deals with so much of like, yes, there's stuff in it that everyone's seen in the news and whatever, but a lot of it is behind closed doors. And so it's like, we're never really going to know what happened in those moments. So all I could kind of do was take stuff that I learned about her, whether it's, just certain like motions and things that she does. Like she looks up through her eyelashes a lot and she tucks her hair a lot. So those little things I started practicing while I was at home. And I worked with a really awesome acting coach who I love. And she gave me a really good piece of advice. She was just like, do all your research before. And then when you get there, let it go. Because you've done the work before and it will just naturally come out of you instead of being on set and feeling like, oh, she would do this, move her body like this kind of thing. It's like I did enough that it really did feel like you guys know, when you're watching so much of a show, it starts to just like come out of you.
Right.
So I did a lot of that prep before. But I think one of the big things for me was kind of, I'm multi-ethnic. And my parents went through what they went through when they got married here in the 70s in Los Angeles. And so it was really cool because I had really interesting conversations with my parents based off of like stuff that came up from the movie and seeing Meghan and Harry's relationship where it's like they dealt with the same things.
Right.
And, what I love is that both of them really have just been like, no, we choose each other. We've chosen each other. This is what we're doing. And everybody can deal with it. Be happy for us or don't, but we're happy.
Yeah, because you forget how much pressure there was on her, too, because, they still don't know. They think that she may or may not be the first black royal of all time. They're still...
She's definitely the first official public,
right.
Like, she knows she is.
Right.
There's
like 1600 or something. There was a woman who had may have had...
She might have been a little mixed.
Yeah, so, but Meghan Markle, like you said... It's put out. It's out there, and that's a lot of pressure in general, even in today.
Yeah.
And so
first time kissing a ginger.
Huh?
First time kissing a ginger.
Yeah. It was my first time kissing a ginger.
Nice. How'd that go for
you? It was like, me.
I know.
Like, I literally get to set, and I'm like, if you could. I don't know what they could have thrown at me on this project that was like everything I did was new. Like there was, we had a stunt sequence scene, we had a sex scene, we had like a wedding. There's so much stuff and just even heightened emotions because you guys being around me, it's like rarely do I really get super emotional or like cry or that's not. If I do get that way, it's not public.
This is hysterical. This is great.
And so it was like, I had the day because I was like, it was a full day where we were shooting the scenes with like some really emotional stuff. And so that was like, it was a learning curve for me because I was like, the first day we had to do some emotional stuff. And I went from being like, yeah, I can totally chat with everybody. I'm like, it's fine, cool, let's shoot it. And then the director was like, no, we like really, really want you to cry here. I was like, oh, okay. And it's also just hard because I was just learning things as an actor where I'm like, I have to actually ask for like a quieter set or like because of my personality, I really do like talking to people. So on one of the other days, I really was just like, hey, while we're shooting this, like, would you guys, I'm not gonna like talk with people during this. I'm gonna kind of stay to myself and look at the floor more. And, Charlie and I had some time to like really connect and he was wonderful and like helping to keep me in the right headspace. But like that kind of stuff is a really big challenge for me. And it was awesome because one of my girlfriends told me after I finished, she's like, I've realized you're an adrenaline junkie. And I was like, what do you mean? Yeah. She's like, you like taking something that you think might be impossible and then going in and 2 days in, you're like, I love this. I could totally do it for forever.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's what this really was for me, where it's like I've
challenges
wanted to,
every day.
Yeah, it was. And literally I felt like, like when babies are learning everything and their eyes are just like,
oh yeah.
It felt like every second I was learning like 1,000 things and being like, okay, now
this
I've
is
got
a good
this,
crash course also because it's funny because and I think sometimes Lifetime movies maybe they get a bad stigma or something too, but not this one. But not this one though, because of because that story in general it's the biggest story of the year last year, right? And the first one did crushed in the ratings, and now because you notice. Because how big it is, there's so much press on it. But I think another thing about doing a movie like this, because, you're going to get a lot of eyes on you and ears for sure, but it's also because it's not like a huge budget movie outside that you can learn a lot on that set to take it in. Because I'm sure it's been pretty crazy since you got this, the amount of calls, more auditions, like things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think we were still shooting. And the first photos, the first look came out. And that's something that's so weird about this project too, which is awesome because I learned so much so fast again. We shot in a month, and then within 2 weeks of me being home, the teaser was out, which doesn't normally happen with movies. It's usually like 6 months to a year. So we were on set. We had people doing set visits, and this was also really funny because since I did stuff with DC All Access and DC Daily and doing the set visits for CW and DC shows, the camera guy and crew for the EPK, the people that were coming to interview me, I had worked with as a host.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was like, this is so surreal and bizarre, but also great because it kind of felt super safe and comfortable for me.
Did you know any of the press people that came for the set visit and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, that was the crazy part too. And as soon as I got back, the Shazam premiere was probably like 2 or 3 days after I got back from Vancouver. And my publicist, I still even, like, it's like the actor thing, like my publicist. So she was like, I'm just not sure how many people are going to want to chat, because this is Shazam, and I don't know if it's the right crowd for becoming royal, but we'll have you do the photo op, and then we'll walk down and see. It literally, it was so, like, I can't even describe what it felt like, really, because it was just, like, so comforting, to get to walk down the carpet, and people did want to talk. One, because people are really excited about Harry and Meghan, but two, it was a lot of people that I've worked with as a presenter.
That's a magic trick that you have that a lot of actors don't have. Like that you've been on both sides of it, and a lot of people don't try to and don't cross over. There's a lot of different roles. I think people have tried to do it, but the fact that you've done it now twice, it's pretty exciting.
Are they going to do more of these?
What?
Are they going to do more of these things? Are you going to be
I don't
Meghan
know.
again?
I don't know.
See how it does.
There's like pregnancy now, right?
I know. That's them.
They named it Archie. I like that.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Were you nervous at any point being so open with the crew about not having all the knowledge that you were going to put off a different vibe and people would take advantage of that? Did you question yourself at any point, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't let them know? I don't know what's going on here.
I think it was one of those things where it was like I chose my moments, where it wasn't like I walked onto set and I was like, "Hey, everyone!
Right.
I've never done this before."
right.
Because
Twittering.
yeah. So it was moments where the DP might come over and say something to me, and I was like, "Hey, just so you know, like, I would love any other tips that you could give me because I want to make your job easier and I want to make all of us look as great as we possibly can." The very first day we shot some stuff. It was a car sequence, and the camera guy and sound guy were in the car with me and just very close because it's the shot that's in the trailer where it's like I'm looking in the mirror. And that was our first thing that we shot. And so I looked over at him and I was like, "Hey, so like any advice that you can give me, I'm totally open." He was like, "Okay." And the crazy part too is a lot of them had worked on the last movie. So they had that experience. And even some of our crew had worked on Suits. So that was funny.
That's cool.
Where it was just like
Did they try to give you tips?
Everybody was great because it was stuff where it was like the camera guys, I would ask them and they were like, "Do you want us to say the lenses or do you want me to show you?"
I meant tips about her. Because worked on Suits.
No, I said the same thing. I was like, I did my research that I could do. And
Good, because she's a bitch. No.
Well, it's also just like I read the script and I knew where we were trying to go with the story, and I know the things about her that I really fully respect and appreciate and wanted to put at the forefront of this movie. Because the thing that I think stayed with me the whole time is that I'm like, I love acting and I love film and TV because it's an escape for people. It brings joy. It uplifts you. Even if it's something that's heavier, it still is an escape and makes you feel something.
Right.
And so for me, doing this movie, I was like, I want people to watch it and feel uplifted and, feel that joy and stuff. So I think that made it a little bit easier being able to walk on set and say that kind of stuff. And also just developing we all really trusted each other, which going back to kind of the awkwardness of, having a romantic lead in a movie, where our director was awesome because we got to set and Charlie and I had a friend who lived in Vancouver and he was like, "I have tickets to a Canucks game if you want them." And I was like, "Yes, that's a great way for us to hang out and get to know each other," because we didn't even have a chemistry test.
Oh.
So we got there, we did that, and then the director was like, he did 2 sessions with us just reading the script, just the 3 of us. So we got to talk a lot about what we wanted to focus on or things that we didn't understand or get or felt weird or things we wanted to shift and work on and stuff. And the writer, Scarlett, is also wonderful because she was super open to feedback and to things that we had to say or add in or kind of shift around. And the director Minhaj, who did the last film, he also he's directed a lot of the series The Royals in England. So he was like, I want to do an intimacy exercise with you guys because he'd taken acting classes because he was like, as a director, I want to be able to really talk to my actors. And it was so awesome because it's one of those things where it's like the exercise that we did was just kind of sitting and looking at each other and sharing stuff and then like asking, can I put my hand on your leg? Can I put my hand on your face? Can I like lean my head against your cheek? And then we like told each other stories where it was like, what's your most embarrassing moment? Or when was the first time you fell in love? And it immediately made it safe and easy to be in each other's like
trust,
close space. And it made it even easier, too, because the director was there. It wasn't like, I was like, hey, Charlie, can we, like, sit in the hotel room and, like,
touch each other?
Yeah.
Well, even though, obviously, with that, and like, that's very important, because if that doesn't work, then the whole movie doesn't work. But the other thing that I noticed inside the trailer, and stuff that always felt dirty to me during this whole thing that was going on with her, was the stuff that was going on with her parents. You know, like the stuff that they kind of gave to the media. And there's a snippet inside of that trailer that it looks like that's what you're having that conversation with your dad. And you have such an amazing relationship with your parents. So to watch you having this kind of, I guess, the blowout with your father and the TV father, it was like, man, that must have been like kind of a very tough but still emotionally and challenging day.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I had a migraine the next day because also things that you learn doing your first movie where you have to cry a lot.
Right.
That you probably shouldn't go full out on every single day.
Right.
Maybe ask them, hey, is it my coverage? But I literally was just like, I just wanted to stay in it as much as I could. So that was a big lesson for me. But it definitely was hard. And that was one of the scenes that we talked about a lot because I was like, I don't want to just do drama for the sake of drama, but I'm like, I get that you want to have those like peak moments in the movie. So I just really wanted to make sure that I had real reasons or real things that felt true to me to have that emotional break kind of thing because, you know, I am really close with my dad. So it was thinking about what that would feel like to kind of feel betrayed or feel left out in the cold, you know, where
Rick would never do it. Rick would never do it.
He would not.
Never.
But he definitely wouldn't. No. But it's just one of those things where you're like, it had to really affect her. And, you know, all I can kind of do is see the stuff that we have out publicly and then internalize it and feel whatever I felt. And
do you think she's going to see this movie? And if she does, how do you think she'd feel about the way that you've represented her?
Oh, man, this is sweet.
Well, I mean, this is also a really weird thing about this movie. It's like, usually you do biopics and it's about people who are much older than...
Or dead.
Or dead. Or they're working on, like, I was thinking about, you know, Rocket Man, where it's like, Elton John worked with Taron Egerton, or Egerton, I don't ever know how to say it.
That's fine. You're a big time actress now. You don't need to get that.
Whatever.
Joel Edgerton.
But so it's like you're playing a real person where stuff is super current and also played by another actress that people really liked. So there were moments where it was like, okay, I could let that kind of get in my head, or I can just be like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do and, you know, embrace that and hope that everyone embraces me like they do, the two of them. I don't remember what you asked me before this. I said, what do
you think about if she you think she's going to see this, and if she does, how do you think she'd feel about you, the way you represent her?
Is it play in England? Is it going to play there?
She doesn't have an English accent.
She doesn't.
Oh, that's right.
Someone asked me
Harry does,
twice
though.
now.
Harry
People
does.
have asked me, so how was it working on the accent? And I was like,
She's American.
I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe you're talking about how like her inflection, but honestly, like I didn't. The EPs on set were like, it's so funny because you just sound like her. And I was like, I feel like it's because of the presenter voice. Like I can dip into that when she would do
Your
public
non-regional
speaking
dialect.
kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly. But I, as an actor, I'm like, if I were in her position, I'm going to sit with like a vat of ice cream and watch the movie and probably never tell anyone that I watched it aside from who's in that room with me. And enjoy it and be like, you as an actor, you're like, this is fun. Like, when do you get to see someone play you?
Right.
And what I hope that she would get out of it is that, like, I really hope that it's like what I was saying before, that she was like, I had fun watching it. It was joyful. And, you know, I think it's something, too, where I really love the fact that she is really into women's empowerment and supporting other women and putting that out there and the philanthropy and just like the good stuff that her and Harry are putting into the world. So I would hope that she would see it and kind of feel like that was where the focus was and that's where the heart of the movie was.
They're like live editing her life at this point.
It's true.
Right?
There's so much more.
Any part of it that you think she wouldn't be in favor of?
I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know because all we could do is, we had our awesome writer do her job on it and she's British. And so she kind of drew from all the things that she knows. And I mean, I think it's one of those things where it would probably be hard to see any of the like really emotional stuff portrayed in a movie about you because,
family.
It is hard. But I really wanted to do it, like I said, when you were asking about how hard it was, just in a really respectful way where it was, I think about the fact that, I definitely do read the things that people tweet to me and write to me. And, I read a couple times that people were like, I don't think Megan would get emotional like that from the trailer. And I was like, I don't know how she would handle things. I don't. But I do know that women can have every layer of emotion and you can be super strong and put together and a go-getter and a badass and still be emotional and have a moment where you cry.
And you don't know what you see off camera.
Yeah.
You don't see. We know how, especially when the camera's on you 24/7, and it's like you've got to be on all the time. The moments that you don't have in front of that camera, you're going to let it loose.
Yeah,
for sure.
And somebody said to me the other day, which I loved, because it's one of those things where you're like, it's weird playing someone that's around now.
Yeah.
And not that unfortunately this person was around, but I had a friend say to me, "This is like your Selena. Like remember J-Lo
right.
when she did that, and it was people didn't know who she was in the same way that they do now, obviously." And so I was like, I would love to kind of have that experience where it's, I did get to do so much.
Do you think you could be
emotionally.
royal? Do you think you could do it?
No.
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 Well, I'll tell you what. You become J-Lo, you better keep that phone open because I'll be asking you for a job.